Recording. Hmm. Okay, it's recording. Oh my God, they would have read that. All right. Hey y'all. Today is August 16th, 2026. I don't know how much time I have because Naomi is taking a nap. Jordan and Ava. Yes. 1 second, babe. Give mommy a minute, okay? I'll get it for you. All right, see, I gotta hurry up. This how it be when you're on maternity leave and you gotta get things done real quick in between the naps and everything. So let me try to do this really quick. Yesterday, or the day before yesterday, I said I was going to try to get on here every day and send a message that I'm receiving. And yesterday, completely got sidetracked. So much happening, life, children. Um, so I knew that I was going to have to come back today with at least two messages. And I have been receiving information my entire life. I didn't know that other people didn't experience the same thing or receive things the same way. I didn't know about numerological formulas. I didn't know about life paths. I didn't know about, I barely read horoscopes. I knew I was a sun sign. I knew I was an Aries. Um, but so much of what I'm receiving, just the knowledge that I've gained, the promptings that I've gotten mostly have had to do with me looking at a specific type of research. I like to think of researching as time travel. Like I read everything. I am a nerd. I am obsessed with books. When I was a little girl, I wanted what Belle had. I wanted that room with all the books, like in a ladder. I'm gonna have that room. But anyway, I was prompted to do a lot of research so that I could help us use my gift of analysis and my gift of synthesizing information that's easily digestible to the collective. So I knew that my promptings and the guidance that I was receiving was going to be tied to an educational outcome for the collective. I always knew that. I always knew that I was here to do some big shit. I don't know. I do know, but I was one of those kids. Remember how back in the day, the elders would call kids like us touched? Oh, you special, you touched. You just got, a covering over you. I've always been that weird, quirky kid that everybody knew saw everything. Um, I was raised by my grandmother and her siblings. So I learned a lot of the elders' way. I was socialized with them. I understood their knowledge systems. I understood their energy as a generation. Um, I grew up in the garden, like we had a garden in North Philly, and my grandparents were farmers in the South. So when they came to Philly in 1954, they continued the tradition. So I write in my book and I talk about how, farm to table that's all I ever knew because we spent so much time in the garden. We prepped all of our vegetables and crops, and we would always share them with neighbors and community and family and things like that. So anyway, um, I just have an old soul for real, and my elders required a lot of me because they could see the potential in me. So no matter what happened with my mother, who was slipped a Mickey, who was completely taken advantage of when she was in her 20s. My mother was like an empath, very artistic, very creative. She was very spiritual, highly intuitive, and misunderstood. She dealt with some mental health issues, um, which are spiritual issues. But these types of things weren't really understood at the time because of where we were. So reconciling my mother's truth and all of that has sort of led me to this moment. It's Chiron work. What you've been demonstrating, or sorry, what I've been demonstrating and what you've been witness to if you follow me or if you're in my family or in my village, is me doing my Chiron work. That's what that looks like. Chiron, I didn't know much about. Um, but Chiron reflects the wounded healer, and there's mythology and beautiful stories around that. I won't delve into that. That's not my area. But once I understood what Chiron meant, Um, I intuitively knew that I needed to develop some type of a framework or a way that maybe helps others access, the root of their pain. We all have different types of traumas on our journey, right? But there's one that is at the root, and it is a childhood experience. It's a childhood experience. So that's what you've been witnessing from me. I'm in the process of like posting because the book actually, the 2 year anniversary was actually like a week ago, and I missed it because I'm on maternity leave and it's just so much going on. But yeah, happy 2 years to this project, to this work. I have no idea how many books I've sold. Um, I didn't develop a marketing plan prior to writing it. I didn't have any strategies for how I would sell it. I none of that mattered at the time I was writing. What was driving me to write was an ancestral call for an entire generation of ancestors who are waiting for their children to see them. Um, I was fueled by my daughter um, asking me who my mother was when she was only 4 years old, right? And because I grew up subscribing to an Afrocentric um, paradigm, which includes my culture, right? And so, in my spiritual tradition, in my ancient and Kemetic spiritual tradition, I learned that reincarnation among our construction of time, right? Like time, there is no time, right? And so I learned so much through my own cultural knowledge systems that I knew that my mother was speaking through my daughter. I don't write that level of detail in the book, right? It's almost like the spiritual half of the experience is I didn't write that in the book. Um but I just want to give this type of language intentionally. I'm using the logos to use language for people to understand and to locate individuals. Okay. Um, so anyway, it's Chiron work. It's on full display. And it's so weird because the energy's been real weird today. Like out of nowhere, my phone is it's like out of storage, out of nowhere. And then I was trying to go live and I couldn't do that because it said I don't have at least a thousand followers. And I'm like, yo, my baby about to wake up. So I was like, shit, well, let me just hop on this laptop real quick. So, you know, I'm here with a really big message and I'm dealing with a lot of different things. I feel like in my journey, really big moments are like it's like eight different things happening. Everything's happening at one time. It feels like retrograde. I just learned what that word meant like a year ago. It feels very raw whenever I'm going through these types of like moments. But I have a really big message to share. Um, and I'm excited to share it because we all know it needs to be shared. And I'm dealing with some strange things at work, and I'm trying to strategize how to navigate it because while I have studied oppression and institutional oppression and how power is reproduced within institutions across institution types, because my focus has been higher education, um, and I do policy research, I administer research. I'm just really all up and through the research world, basically, across disciplines. And I'm working through this really odd, oppressive experience that I went through while I was on maternity leave. And I process it the way most Black women process it. We clock it and we metabolize it. Usually, I'm metabolizing behind a smile. So I'm dealing with that. But I also always know how to quickly alchemize it. And I want to show you how I do that. I want to talk through how I do that. I look for, this is probably why case study methodology is my favorite. Also because I'm from Philly. So also like the first major sociological study with W.E.B. Du Bois, studying the Black experience down South Street in the Seventh Ward. First case study in the country to do that. So case study methodology is my shit. Anyway, um, I know how to approach the issue that I'm experiencing. Typically, I will do that in direct communication with the leader. Um, yeah, I've just always been in leadership spaces. I was raised by elders who encouraged me to talk up. I mean, they really got pissed off if you didn't talk up. Anything that you were learning, you had to recite. They would tell me what you learned. How did you get the answers to the question? It was oral. And this has always been our way. I don't know why people be confused. So when I grew up, my grandparents had like, those old stacks of encyclopedias, like burgundy with the threading coming off, navy blue, not even navy. It was probably like I don't know, shit. But anytime I was doing my work or, and I didn't know an answer to a question or something like that, the elders would be like, "What do you mean you don't know? Go find out. Go get the encyclopedia and go research it." So I learned how to research from my grandma. Like I learned how to research at home. So this is how the educational expectations were in my family, in my household, and within the elders, right? As well as their children. So really raised by a village. While the family was taking care of my mother, they were also taking care of her children. The care never stopped. And really excited about initiating the necessary dialogue for my generation to start talking about it. Um, because I was able to do the Chiron work, I was able to engage in that shadow work. What is it called? Death Night of the Soul. When someone said that to me, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? This shit has a name. Like, I'd be pissed. Y'all, all right, anyway. Which is beautiful because as an autoethnographer, I don't get to, I am to document this experience so that we can have a legacy, so that we can have a foundation. One day I received that we have to move the starting line. So I was like, okay, cool. So I picked up the starting line, I shook it, hit it with an imaginary broom, and now I'm trying to establish a new starting line today for those who are vibrating with this message. Um, I'm an educator, so I also believe that those who are not vibrating at this message can, as long as they have the necessary knowledge gaps to trigger the dendrites that are required to develop new neural pathways in their brain. In order to ascend, in order to move forward, in order to elevate with the consciousness level that's required at this time, gaining knowledge has to happen. Like it has to happen. So all the ABDs, all the scholars that are in the institutions who are choosing to stay there so that they can pass down the knowledge to the next generation, it's not so easy for people to just leave the institution, right? So I'm perfectly positioned as an independent scholar to say certain things. And because I've had the career that I've had in higher ed, I understand my role in it. And so um, I just said a lot. Let me get to that point. I'm here with a really big message. So the flip, we flipped. I mean, we flipped. But what's happening is that there's some stragglers. What I see is that we just need somebody to sum it up real quick. So here we are. We have completed the 6,000 year period of the last cycle. Dr. Charles Finch, Baba Charles Finch, he transitioned a few months ago, I believe it was 2026. Um, he has this beautiful, it's like astro theory, y'all. Oh my God, I love theory. Um, but he has these incredible presentations that talk about um, the precession of the equinoxes, um, excuse me if if I'm mispronouncing it. I'm a social scientist, but this area is very new to me. I'm a novice, and so I'm learning, and I'm excited to be learning because we get to learn together, we get to co-construct together, we get to build together. I am a master builder. I was born in 1984. That's important. If you were born in 1984, you're a master builder. Stand up. Everybody's been on their knees. We are all victims of educational oppression, um, no matter what side of the scale you are on. Okay. So if you are on the high scale, if you are a white man, you're at the top of the scale. If you are a Black woman, you are at the bottom of the scale. Um, and, I am not interested in having debates about religious affiliations or anything like that. That's an illogical divide. I look at that. I talk about illogical divides in my book. That don't even make sense to me. Um, Once I got the message that I needed to talk to everybody, it was like, oh, I knew exactly what to do with the message. So for those of us who have our intuitive spiritual gifts, and are aware of them and are identifying ways to use them and trying to just figure out like, who am I? What are my gifts? What are my skills? Um, Numerology can help answer some of those questions. This knowledge system teaches you how to read energy and vibration. Boom. It's important to learn numbers because they came before letters. Okay. Important to learn numbers because when telepathic communication was the only thing happening prior to the wars, um, this is how we understood. It's like binary. So that's important. So those of us who are aware, it's time to talk up. People are talking, but it's not loud enough. Like the message I'm delivering today, it's not loud enough, which is why I'm here delivering this message. um, so time for us to I'm coming out. I want the world to know. I was talking to my cousin Zanina yesterday, and this is the conversation we were having. So we're having these conversations in silos through our text threads, kind of like on a sly, because during the last 6,000 years, this had to be hidden, and that carried over through our DNA. We know that, which is why we suppress certain knowledge systems until we can speak them out loud. So, um, yeah, I mean, that's a lot. I just gave a lot. Let me get to the message. I wanted to share this book real quick. And there are a lot of books that I've been reading and prompted to read while I'm on my journey. I have a huge library and I'm always giving away books when my girlfriends come over because this is the shit we be talking about. Um, like for real, what's going on? Because it's too much. So this book is called The Sibyls, the first prophetesses of Mami Wata, the theft of the African prophecy by the Catholic Church. All right. I don't know if this is probably a little blurry. This is the book. Okay, this is by the and I really, really wish that I had a more extensive biography on this incredible soul, this ancient mother who came to do the work that was required for us to pick this up at this time. Okay. Mama Zogbe, Vivian Hunter Hindru, Chief Hunan Amagazi. So I was recommended this book by another spiritual sister, an educator I met out here in San Diego. We were talking about, we were actually introducing one another, and I was telling her, yeah, I'm an educational researcher. Much of my scholarship is through Black feminist positionality. I write about oppression from our location because we see everything. I've always studied Black women and girls. So if you look at my publications, it's my area. And this is deep, y'all. She was like, oh, so you've heard of Mama Zobe? And I was like, oh, shit. No, I haven't. What major scholar have I missed in my educational journey, right? Pissed. Um, no, she's self-published. She's self-published. So again, a lot of our work has had to flow through self-publications. And I'm from Philly, so I've had access to a lot of these just consciousness and lots of uh metaphysical sciences, all of that. Um, so anyway, um, yeah, so she has compiled an extensive body and a corpus of research. Um, and it's self-published, independent. And she talks about that. She talks about why she needed to go independent. It's because the institution would never allow this type of scholarship, right? So the institutions were suppressing and creating these intentional gaps so that we could not remember and have access, right? So she was like, I'm gonna send you an interview that I saw on YouTube. It's like a couple different episodes, but if you are a Black feminist scholar, she talks a lot about that and a lot about the missing research, right? I think that's number two energy, the missing research. So there's always like a physical, sorry, physical, spiritual, masculine, feminine, yin yang, right? As above, so below. Um, we are in a holistic um, paradigm now. And so we have to, this is the whole balancing of the divine masculine and divine feminine. We have to balance these energies and we have to understand it, which is why we need to know numbers. And I swear my daughters would have been able to pick this up in the third grade. Like I think this is third grade material, depending on how we teach it. Um, but I really just don't understand why we don't have access to this now, and it's pissing me off. So we're going to learn it together. I just finished some certification classes. My grandmother was the numbers lady. She kept those old numbers books on her nightstand right up under her Old Testament Bible. Um, she always interpreted what was happening through numbers. And it was incredible to be exposed to this type of knowledge system. And I never ever talked about it when I left the house. I just knew that this right here is the home. You know what I mean? This is my default factory setting. This is the blueprint. Okay. It was never, nothing could ever trump that. Nothing could ever shake that. Nothing could ever come on top of that, no matter what it was. In the sixth grade, I had an assignment. Hold on, let me check the camera. Oh, I had an assignment to create a sarcophagus in a shoebox. I gotta hurry up. And I decorated the shoebox and everything was gold. It had a cat, I had a candle, and I knew that I needed to have a pen and a paper. So all of this was in my sarcophagus box. But that project was in a world history class in the sixth grade. And I intuitively felt connected to it. It was like my favorite assignment. So again, we've been kind of um, intuitively aware of these knowledge systems, but they have to be activated. They have to be, triggered by remembrance. And so I wanted to mention that because again, I think my lived experience is helpful for us to help inform how we think about the paradigm we're shifting into. Um, this book made me feel all the things. I felt sad. I felt it was again a paradigm shift. It's a paradigm jolt. It's a paradigm shift. So I felt horror. I felt horrified, um, devastated. Um, there are no words to describe how long we have been without this knowledge. Um, it took a long time for me to digest. I knew I needed to talk about this at some point, but I just wasn't ready. Like I couldn't talk about it. But it's time to talk about it now. Hi, Jordy. Come say hi. Hi. Mommy's doing a recording. You know how we're always talking about what you feel on the inside. Yes. And our ancestors, right? And how they're with us and how we connect with them. I am doing a video that is talking, oh, and also how we talk about pedagogy, right? We talk about how it's important for educators to be able to adjust their teaching style so that the learner so that the listener is getting everything that they need. right?
Yeah.
So mommy's talking about that today. I'm talking about a really important topic that has to do with paradigm shifts and worldviews. Say paradigm shift
Paradigm shift
and worldviews.
and world views.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I'm saying certain things, I'll just have them repeat it so that it's not new to them. Sort of conditioning their minds to get used to hearing certain words that mommy's saying. Do you have a question?
Yeah,
Oh,
so Mary's up, so I took her downstairs and now she's in her chair.
oh my gosh. All right, you're killing it. I'm gonna wrap it up. Naomi's up. So I gotta go. Um, this book was life-changing, and I was prompted to read it along with her other volumes while I was writing my book, while I was going through therapy, while I was doing my Chiron work. Um, it just so happens that today is a Sunday. There's no coincidence. I know there's like an eclipse happening. I'm not really sure yet. But Dr. Charles Finch is sure. There's a video on YouTube that I think it's called The Wheels of Heaven. Incredible scientist, incredible Baba, incredible mind. And he also has like this pop voice. It's something about his voice that makes me want to listen to him. It doesn't feel like I'm in school or a sterile lecture hall. It feels like the living room. His presentation styles are incredible. So if you're trying to understand how the ancients, how we have always interpreted what was happening within the stars, how we read the stars, how we knew how the Sibyls were able to predict or how they, had the ability, the prophetic ability to say when something was going to happen, right? It's because of the cycles. And Dr. Charles Finch, I think, is probably one of the scholars who, for me, synthesizes all of that symbolism, um, mythical stories. Is he synthesizes it all in a very coherent way to understand sort of cosmological constructs, which is required at this time. We're all remembering something. Again, no matter where you are on the scale, right? If you're a white man or if you are a black woman. So what's happening is this sort of parallel shift, and it's happening, which is why Black women are being energetically pushed out of corporations. Yeah, everyone's on a journey. Everyone's on their own timeline. So, um, how these push outs are happening are adding to our Chiron. They're traumatic. Again, I just experienced some heavy institutional trauma. Um, this is regular for us. Anyway, so this is why all this is happening. So we are correcting the scales. We're correcting the scales. Black women, um, the ones who are supposed to do this work are doing this work, period. um, learning about the theft of the Black matriarch um, is us shaking out and restarting at the starting line, restarting at the beginning, the foundation. 1984, we are master builders, very, very powerful. Dr. Delbert Blair told us that. But I'm also 444. So a lot of the work that I'm doing is developing new constructs at an ontological and epistemological, all the logical levels. Okay. I'm doing that because I was wondering why I needed to study Dogon cosmology and their numerology system. There's a Baba Ra Spin from Philly, maybe from DC. I think he's from DC, but moved to Philly and has done extensive scholarship on the Lenape um, and the prophecy associated with Philadelphia being where the magic happens, right? Because it's on the 40th parallel, and why a lot of the resets have to happen in that landmass, in that space. Um, yeah, which is how the corporation started. So, anyway, if you're looking to another thing that happened, and thank goodness, thank God for like Horace Butler's work, When Rocks Cry Out, must read. It's a must read. Um, but the land was talking to me. The earth was talking to me. I could feel this connection as I was reconnecting with my mother's story. I was back in the neighborhood, and being out here in San Diego, I could like see it differently. I wrote a poem called Big Dipper, Little Dipper. I channeled a poem called Big Dipper, Little Dipper, and I talked about my neighbor, a memory I completely forgot about. I had a neighbor, Miss Tanya, who taught us how to like pull stars out the sky. So that childlike innocence, when your brain doesn't like get all, we're not conditioned, our minds aren't hijacked yet, that innocence. Um, so a lot of concepts I was able to think about abstractly because of like, neighbors like Miss Tanya who taught us how to think, taught us how to use our imagination, taught us how to be creative, and taught us how to use our gifts. These were gifts that we were exposed to and knew, right, earlier. So the wound that we experience almost like started the shift. That's what starts the the deconstruction of the soul. So it happens like early, which is again the work that I'm here to do is to help people identify that root Chiron work. Um, but learning about the thefts of the Black patriarchy, through Mama Zobe's analysis of Mami Wata, of the Sibyls across the globe, you know, um, is where we originate from, right? And so getting back to our way, understanding what happened with the flip patriarchy, there's a lot of masculine and feminine things that needed to happen because that's the cycle we were in, right? And so when I say like everyone's exactly where they're supposed to be, you're always where you're supposed to be, we always know what the cycle is going to bring. That's what that's the power we had, right? We always knew. We always knew the fall of patriarchy was going to happen. And now we have to know how to set it back up. There's a little hummingbird over there. So I am going to post this book and I'm gonna post a couple of pages that really stood out to me when I was trying to digest it. Um, the energy centers are going to be flooded with students and participants and members about the knowledge that they've received. Okay. So the more knowledge we have, the more questions we're going to have. And the leaders who are currently in position to be on the recipient end of these questions have to be prepared for that. If they're not prepared to handle that, I mean, if you matriculated through someone's university, you were exposed to theological religious study content, right? You are a subject matter expert. If you are practicing in an energy center and you have not studied what you're practicing, that's a problem. However, if you have the knowledge, if you've had possession of this knowledge and you have not disclosed it to your participants and your members, you have some explaining to do. And you played your part in the cycle. But the flip is happening. And so there can be no active, known educational oppressive experiences when it comes to the previous cycle. Okay, that transference of knowledge has to happen. So um, everyone's doing their work. A part of everyone's mission is to document and voice. We have to record for the children so that they have the knowledge, so that we can start to archive what was and document what is and what is becoming and what already has, right? So this is what we have to do. So if you are a leader in an energy center and you have not talked about this, this is the moment. This is your moment. Welcome. We've arrived. I believe that this is a perfect seminal text for the entire congregation, the entire masjid, the entire, whatever uh, language you use. This is world history. Okay. And again, I was not able to find a more complete volume of archaeological evidence, pictures, artifacts. And of course it was a black woman to it was Big Mama, right? Hello. So we have to be very, very clear. We are all able to connect to source. We are all able to receive our birthright. Um, it's yours. It's yours. You were not supposed to have it before this moment. But there are experts and educational philosophers, there are hood philosophers, there are oracles. Everyone is a philosopher. Everyone has a specific location that contributed to this moment, and everyone's perspective needs to be heard. Okay. My cousin and I just did a cousin conversations video yesterday, and we were talking about her role as a federal probation officer and the need for something like the sinkhole for writing method so that we can start really placing mental health issues where they need to be, and also providing individuals with the access to not only see their trauma and identify it, but to understand that what happened to them was not their fault, right? To understand that what happened to them was out of their control, and that's okay. Um, Identifying and helping people reconcile and sort of recalibrate is the goal, and that's kind of the work that I'm doing. Um, please get the book and read it, and let's build together moving forward. Um, the veil has been thinning for some time. And then attempts were made to obstruct, the knowledge that was possessed at the time. And then you have a complete attack on the womb and the removal of the Black mother in our communities, which is why I had the Chiron work that I had to do, which is why I needed to reconnect with my mother's story. I kept receiving that this book and my mother's story were parallel. So I always knew that this was going to be a message that I was going to have to bring. When Mama Zogbe said in her interview on YouTube that she didn't find this knowledge in Afrocentric literature, I was pissed. I was like, yo, you're right. I didn't find it there either. That's deep. Um, we weren't supposed to find it there because we were in a patriarchal cycle. Okay. Very simple concept, or maybe not so simple. But once you have that, it's easier to move forward. I have to go. My daughter is watching the baby, and I'm so grateful for her, and her ability to be a big sister. She is crushing it. So have an amazing Sunday. Um, Deep breaths, right? Ground, get in the sun. We're being very whimsical online. I love it. And I need to pull my flute out and start playing some songs. I'm gonna do that one day when Naomi taking a nap, I guess. Uh, continue to be whimsical. Do your work. Have the conversations, heal your trauma. Heal. And we just have to reclaim and retake our minds, so that we can know that and move forward accordingly. Peace, y'all.